Hi everyone, Redneck Computer Geek here. So we're going to be converting the MDI system that's on the 22 Kohler we're working on today over to just regular standard coils. It's a pretty simple conversion, but it's expensive. It's about $120. Down in below, I'll include a link in order to be able to get the parts for today's conversion. Where is that engine going? Right here. This is our dragster that we built over on RCG Racing. If you want to see the drag racing video that this is in and a little more information, down below in the description I'll have a couple of links for you. But for now, let's get into the garage and go do this conversion. So this unit actually has a working MDI on it. So I want to go and teach you how to be able to field test this MDI in case you run across one of these. The fastest way to recognize an MDI Kohler is this little box over here. This box right here is your MDI box. And it'll be over next to your PCV valve. Now, these MDIs are not that hard to test in the field. It's just a pain because you need two battery sources. You need one for the starter and one for the MDI itself in order to fire it. Otherwise than that, you test the spark exactly the same way you normally would. You can either pull a spark plug, hold it against something, or otherwise. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip this off of here. And unfortunately, I got to try to be in a couple of places at once. So on the back side over here, we have our little booster pack on the back side. We have our ground hooked up to the oil strap that's over here. We've got a positive lead. And what we're going to do is take the wiring harness for the Kohler, and you're going to see that there is a red wire here in the harness. So red goes to red, and you're going to hear a clicking noise. That's because the solenoid that is in your carburetor is on the same exact positive lead as your MDI box. So at this point, our MDI is powered up. And if we give this a shot of starter fluid, we'll open up our choke like so, and give it a shot of starter fluid. Close our choke. And now over here, we'll take our starter booster pack and we'll give the starter some juice. So there we are. That's how you test MDI to make sure whether it works. Basically, if I disconnect the power here so that it has nothing, it will spin over indefinitely. Now, let's do the conversion. In order to do the conversion, you're going to order up this. And I'll make sure there's a link down below. And this little box, you actually pay $20 extra for one piece of wire. So if you do not want to pay $20 extra, pay attention. So you can get just the coils. You can order coils for an 18 horsepower Commander twin that will fit this. Okay? But what comes in the kit is 2 coils, remember that $20 piece of wire? That is this. Here's your Kohler part number for the modular kit. There is your overpriced piece of wire. So basically what you do is you end up taking and detaching all of this wiring harness except for the coil kill wire. And you hook that up to this $20 wiring harness, which is insane. And there you go. Let's do it. So Kohler wasn't done being stupid when they came up with this MDI thing. They also decided to use some really weird sizes, including a 7mm for the MDI box itself. Another thing that Kohler decided to do, if you have one of these MDI boxes that has failed, is check your wiring harness where the MDI box comes into the system, because one of the mounting bolts for the MDI box itself actually rubs against the wiring harness and can cause it to short. So there's our MDI box. And right in here is where that screw tends to hit and wear out through it. So we're going to open this up and we're going to push this entire wiring harness out through. Now there are parts of this wiring harness that we need to keep, so we're going to be careful of that. And now we're going to grab a pair of cutters and we're going to snip all of these clear. Now keep in mind where it is they're located, because you will need to re-zip tie the coil wire into place, because otherwise it will drop down and end up in the flywheel and it'll rip itself to shreds and you'll be back to this hell over again. So, now, if you are any kind of smart person and you want to save yourself money and not buy the extra coil stuff, you can take either the black wire that is coming through here. It's like a brownish, blackish color. You can take the brown and black wire that is here. You can splice them together, then add an end onto it and have your coil kill wire in place. Or you can do the same exact thing with the yellow wire, but the brown/black one has the bigger connector, which works better for connecting to the coil, as you can see there. So we're going to rip this out because we're installing the entire coil kit that we got from Kohler for replacing their Moronesi. So we're going to pull these spark plug wires so that they're out and loose. There we are. And now we're going to switch over to an Allen. And you want to be gentle with these coil screws. They tend to be steel into aluminum and they tend to corrode, so be really careful with them. Don't be overly brutal. Feel free to soak them as need be. There's one removed, and as you can see, when you install them, they have different sizes so you don't mess it up. Brown goes to that one, yellow goes to that one. So the coils are not specific. They just simply go in like that. Now we undo those. And there is our other CDI coil. You want to save these in order to use on another machine if possible. These are about $48 a piece if you're buying them. Now you're going to find that there is another mounting screw there. That is also going to be an 8mm, if I remember right. And that's where your ground for your MDI goes. And you need to put this back in because it holds your intake manifold in place. And again, just snug fit, don't overdo it. Okay, so now we've got our harness broken down to this point. This is your stock kill wire. So what you can do at this point is you can cut it off here and then add on the crimp connector that they gave you with the kit. You can take this and you can disconnect it because you don't need this anymore. There we are. And there we are. That's the MDI removed. So right now I'm going to hook this up as if we're hooking it up with the kit, which is going to be, we need to put a connector on here. When I put it in the racer build, I intend to use a different wire for doing the kill, but for the sake of this video, we're going to just put our butt connector on here like we would the way the kit directions say. And these are nothing special. They're just the generic ones from AutoZone. I really like them. Okay, so at this point, we need to go and get the coils put on. So we're going to take our lovely directions here, because obviously we didn't read them. We wouldn't do that. That's a waste. But if we take our lovely directions and we zip a section off here and we throw the rest of it away like we're supposed to, now we can take this and we can rotate it to the point that we have the magnet for the coil facing towards it, and place a piece of paper over it, and then drop this into place. Now, there will be a stupid green grounding wire that will most likely be in your way when you go to do this. Just do your best to work with it. Unfortunately, that's another Kohler stupidity that we have to deal with. So make sure to connect your ground wire if yours is the type that has the sheathing. And like I said, be careful. You're going steel into aluminum. Do your best. Okay, now we rotate our flywheel to make sure we have clearance, ripping our paper piece to shreds. And there's our clearance. That's how you get good clearance every time. Now we're going to do the other side. So, bring our magnet around. And the other side is harder because of the way the compression hits, but if you go past and then come back, it usually will line up just fine. So we've got our coil. We set our coil in there. Making sure we've got our piece of paper in place. Push it down as hard as you can to make sure that it lines up where it's supposed to be. We're going to put our screw in, yet again being careful. Steel into aluminum as always. And I just made a boo-boo there. I forgot to go and put the extra ground there. Oops. And be paranoid about dropping bits because they fit perfectly down the fins of the cylinder. And you won't get them out ever again, so pay attention. Rotate that to make sure we've got clearance. Now that's a little close, but it should work fine. So now at this point we've got our kill wire. We're going to click that on there. I'm going to bring this over. We're going to click this one on here. And then we're going to take this and we're going to connect it to the kill wire that's in the system. Like so. And at this point, once we slam these spark plug boots on, we should be able to give this thing a test fire with some starter fluid. Wrap that back up into that piece so that it won't go anywhere. And we'll find some starter fluid. Now, one thing to remember if you're doing this is that if you have your solenoid still in the carburetor, you do still need to have your positive right here, your red wire, with a positive lead in it. At this point, we're just testing with starter fluid, so that's irrelevant. Alright, enough talk. Let's find some go-go juice and let's see what this thing does. So, open choke, go-go juice, close choke, and give it some love. So there we go. There's a how-to video on how to remove the stupidest ignition system that any small engine ever apparently had. I'm going to save these, obviously, because they're usable. At some point, I will end up probably putting these into a Cub Cadet or a John Deere. Those are the two brands I usually tend to see them in. I usually see these on 22 horsepower, 25s, and 27s. I haven't seen a 24 with them yet, but that is a common Kohler size, so I bet we'll probably see them. But so far, 22, 25, 27 are what I've seen them on the most. Now to go put these in a shoebox so that I can forget about them and find them 2 years from now when we need them.